Hey, Jake's back and he's got his own show. He's on the mic and he's ready to go. Noodle on his left, Jess on his right. Hey, hold up, don't start a fight. He's got you covered with all the sports. Don't fret, he's wearing shorts. It's time for Waking Jake in the morning, Waking Jake at night. Jake sucks.
Whew. Good morning, Bakers. What is going on, everyone? And welcome to Wake and Jake. Myself, BBD, and Carlos Correa is a San Francisco Giant to the tune of 13 for 350. Wow. One, good for Carlos Correa. A lot of people assume Yankees, Astros, all that stuff. You know, at a certain point, being sports fans and being adults, there's more of an overlap than being on the playground and hating Carlos Correa forever. Good for Carlos Correa. He had a really weird free agency. We heard from a lot of teams that it was because of his back. They were worried about that last year. Then he had his whole thing with his agency. If you remember that, I think he was with an agency that he was their first baseball agent or something last year.
Yeah, like
Remember
they were breaking into the baseball space, player space.
And that didn't go cleanly, and I think lockout, everything tied to it. That Carlos Correa, he ended up with it wasn't a one-year deal with the Twins. It was a multiple-year deal with opt-outs, which I want to get to those in a little bit for the Twins. He ends up opting out after not having a world-beating year, but he looked like Carlos Correa. He missed a little bit of the season, and then he was off to a slower stat. He ended up in a good place. I mean, a 5.5 WAR season. 136 games, and 834 OPS. His second highest OPS plus in a season. So he cashes in this first year of the CBA free agency. Trey Turner got the 11 for 3 hundo. We saw what Judge did, and we know the Giants were in on that. And they go out and get their star player, and good for them. Good for them. The San Francisco Giants, they've kind of been this, I don't want to say a team without an identity. They won 108 games or whatever it was, and it was kind of everyone contributed. Brandon Crawford had a sneaky, massive year that year that everyone kind of moved past. But
he got the daisy.
Right. The San Francisco Giants get their star player, an organization that's had a history of star players. If you want to go Posey, Bonds, if you want to go Willie Mays before that. San Francisco, what that sports market has just turned into in the past 10 years, 20 years, Silicon Valley, Golden State Warriors, Niners. Carlos Correa joins that. Interested to see what else they do. Earlier on this offseason, they brought back Jock Peterson on the qualifying offer. Mitch Haniger, they signed him. So what does that do? You guys know I like the effect of baseball when you add a guy to your bullpen and your 8th inning guy becomes your 7th inning guy. The same thing goes for a lineup. When your 5th hitter becomes your 6th hitter and everything gets one step harder, that can have an effect on the team. I have no idea what it means for the San Francisco Giants currently. You arguably won't find a media person who's a bigger Thairo Estrada fan than me. Linked onto that one earlier. He's listed as their leadoff hitter right now. As a second baseman, and it shouldn't be looked at as that because they do all sorts of stuff. Right now, Wilmer Flores and Tommy La Stella are on their bench, and those are two guys that, if they can have nice years, would play a lot for them. So they have their own recipe. They have their own sauce. I guess part of me is rooting for it with Carlos Correa, knowing what the Padres are doing, knowing what the Dodgers are. You're not going to be able to buy into this until they show that 1 year was not the outlier. But if you're a Giants fan, let's see what else is out there. I mean, they signed Sean Manaea and Ross Stripling, who feel like almost a lefty and righty version of each other. Alex Cobb, Alex Wood, and then Logan Webb. I really like Logan Webb. I mean, going back to that postseason where he first hit the scene, he was awesome. He's a true dude. He's going to be 26. Alex Cobb is 35. Manaea had a really, really bad second half to last season. Stripling ends up having a really nice year. So, hey, maybe they can put a little giant sauce on him. But, yeah, I mean, what does it mean in the NL West? As of right now, I don't think much. I think the Padres are making significant moves. They got their taste of the postseason. They want to run it back. And by the way, they just brought in Bogarts, and Soto didn't play great for them last year. So Tatis will be back. Like, you know, you start doing all of those things compared to Correa and Mitch Haniger when, you know, you got beat by 8 teams by the other guy last year. And never mind the Dodgers that beat you by 30 games. I know they haven't done anything, but that's okay. 30 games is a lot of games. And I think that does partially transition into, I mean, there's not much hot takes to be had about it. If anyone's hopping on and saying this is a horrible contract, shut your butt a little bit. I mean, they get Carlos Correa. The Giants have at least a game plan after losing out on Judge.
And I mean, it's a 13-year deal. It's a long-term play.
Yeah,
inherently.
And by the way, Correa might pan out better than everyone else. Like he doesn't rely on speed. He's younger than those other guys. He's 28. Like if his back holds up and baseball just plays out, if all things are equal and Judge plays and gets old and Trey Turner plays and gets old and Bogarts, like the Correa contract has a chance to be the best of all the big ones we saw.
He's enough younger than kind of everyone else. If they get some other kid comes up, can pick it at short, can move Correa a year early to third, and
I mean he perfectly pans out as a third baseman. I mean the arm strength, that some of the A-Rod comps that people like to do with him and Correa, and you know how funny was the Carlos Correa Mets era last night for an hour. I mean, talk about when are we gonna stop taking the bait? It's just we never know, right? It's kind of the beauty of it.
Just enough of these do happen,
right? The Mets have been happening. It was happening fast, and there's a couple good baseball names attached to it, and you know maybe that got Carlos Correa another couple extra million on top of it.
And you know on the defense, obviously his back has been somewhat of a concern as long term, but he's been one of the main most outspoken players about oh, I'm excited for the shift to go away. I can go make plays again. I think he's gonna be fine.
Platinum glove at shortstop. The arm strength is incredible. You forget that. Now we see these top prospects that are, I think some of them are getting called up this year, but these shortstops that have the rocket arms, we saw O'Neal Cruz get called up. I mean, Correa kind of started that. I think those other guys are on a different level. Mason Wynn, I believe, is the Cardinals prospect that throws it 103 across the diamond. And by the way, Carlos Correa, his bat, which, 2019 and 2017 were the juicy ball seasons, and those were two of his better seasons. 2018 and 2020, 2020 was the shortened season, so he plays 58 games. But he wasn't great. He had a 709 OPS. I mean, kind of easily his worst year. 2018, banged up, 728 OPS. That, I don't know. I think there were more questions around Carlos Correa's true hitting than there should be. I mean, a lot of natural pop. That gets better with age. The plate discipline, better than I thought. I mean, since 2019... he's a 281, 360, 840 OPS player. And last year, he was better than all of those in a year when hitting was down. And, baseball, we can find a lot of excuses really easily. This is his first year on the Twins. New ballpark, new pitchers, all of that. A lot of times we give guys outs for that. Jesse Winker on the Brewers. I've been giving him a lot of outs for doing 1 year in Seattle. Correa killed it there. He's got power to all parts of the park. The opposite field homers in San Francisco might be tough. But he's going to hit. He's going to play defense. I'm interested to see the vibe check. Gabe Kapler, cool guy, San Francisco. Correa, he that Dior quote at the end of the season and all the Astros history. Again, I've given him a lot more of a pass for that because, again, 2017, he's 22 years old. 2019, he's 24. So a lot of that stuff goes back to a time when you can easily label him as a young dude. Giants, let's see if they do anything else. It's also funny. Joey Bart was a number 2 pick in the draft, like top prospect. He's the luster has run out on him a little bit. He could easily, if he has a big April, that's someone you're like, oh, nice.
Especially for a catcher. Wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world for the next 2 years. He figures it out.
Figure something out. And then, they just have a ton of coin flip flavors. Excuse me.
Got those too.
J.D. Davis, will he ever put it together for a season? Wilmer Flores kind of has, but he's old and not sexy. Tommy La Stella, it feels like sometimes he's awesome, but he's often out. Yastrzemski, Lamont Wade Jr., Late Night Lamont. I think we made shirts that were similar to a player on San Francisco of that. That wore off pretty fast. Let's see what else the Giants do. I think the other thing that ties into this significantly is now it's down to Dansby. Dansby is a really interesting case study amongst big free agents. Like BBD mentioned, all JM team, Brandon Crawford a couple years ago. Dansby took it from Lindor and Trey Turner. Dansby was that guy last year. 6.5 WAR. Better than Turner. Better than Bogarts. Better than Correa. Like, Dansby Swanson last year was awesome, and this is where projecting baseball gets really interesting because everyone's worried about Dansby's arm strength. Everyone. And there's a timing to baseball, and I could try to chop up the numbers, but, I don't think Eno Saris will be offended when I say it. Eno Saris was like, that arm strength, I don't think that plays in a couple years. Or how many years does it play? Because I think it was second worst. Isn't it him and IKF? I feel like that
Something
was
like that.
That was a John Boy Eno Saris moment as we took our Uber to the airport, and then Eno left his laptop, so he had to go right back. That was a little winter meetings tale. Dansby Swanson was awesome last year. He was projected. So, Xander Bogaerts. And again, roster resource Fangraphs projections. Everything has been low. Do with them what you want. It's just it's a concept, and extrapolate it how you want. Xander Bogaerts was expected to get 6 years, 168. He got 11 for 280. Dansby was expected to get 6 for 141. So basically what that was I think people aren't as sure how long Dansby's going to be able to stick at shortstop. His move probably looks like second base if your arm is doing that. It's just a question, what along the timeline? Xander Bogaerts was projected to get a little more money. He's going to play shortstop for the Padres, which is a little funny because he's probably not the best shortstop amongst the crew. And then he's going to have to move off that position, but his bat has a track record and seems like it's going to translate more. Where Dansby's feels like it toes a tighter line. In recent years, Dansby has been better. 277, 329, 776 OPS. That's not super flashy. Last year, he technically had the year before that, he had a 99 OPS plus. So, and in 2020, he hit 60 games, got some MVP votes. He got MVP votes last year. He won the Gold Glove last year. So that's the part everyone's talking about, his arm strength, which, by the way, is something I feel like you can kind of work on. Like, I know it goes away and we see pitchers get older, but, consistently making a hard throw from shortstop, I think you can make more of a conscientious effort to do that. And by the way, we're so held up on that second to last arm strength number with Dansby because that doesn't project well. With that, he won the Gold Glove. So I guess I'm not as fazed by it by a lot of people because
especially as shifts go away, similar to what we said with Correa, like he does that part better than anybody because even with the arm strength, he's still overall, we think the best. I don't watch him every day, but
right. I mean, in the
by all
postseason, it played.
indications.
That final series versus the Mets in the regular season, it played. Like, he won the Gold Glove, and Gold Glove, that's another conversation as well, but there's still something there. Dansby Swanson, he led the NL in games played in 2021. He led the NL in games played in 2022.
All of them at short.
All of them at short. He won the Gold Glove last year. If his arm strength, if he works on that a little bit in the next couple years, even before, 33 starts getting old like me, that plays. If it stays the same, that played. He won the Gold Glove this year. I think the bat is a little more scary, but that being said, his at-bats in Atlanta, he's played in big games. That Mets series, he dominated at the end. Maybe there's flair to it. Maybe it's lucky timing. Maybe he's gotten better. His numbers from age 26 to 28 are a lot better than his age 23 to 25. So maybe he's improved and made a leap offensively. I do think the scary part with these long contracts, all of these guys offensively are going to go downhill at some point. They have to. They have to. Trey Turner's speed and contact at some point will go downhill. Judge's contact and speed will go downhill. Correa, same thing. Dansby, when he takes that step down, and that's what teams have to be debating, if Dansby holds up through 34, I mean, you're still talking about 5-6 years of really high-end baseball, which, by the way, that's all these contracts are. Bogarts, you're hoping to get 5-6 good years out of him. Same with Judge. A decline is coming. For Dansby, once that decline hits, I mean, the offense, he's a career OPS plus of 95. It has gotten better recently, and I think you do have to throw out some of the old numbers. But when it does go, his is going to go quicker. And then you're going to be paying what? Second baseman Dansby Swanson, $28.5 million or whatever it comes out to. I'm interested to see how the bidding process goes because there's also big teams in this. The Dodgers haven't made a move. Gavin Lux is their starting shortstop as of right now. Do they believe in that? I don't know. The Chicago Cubs were supposedly in on the shortstop market, and they still need help if they want to make an impact. Dansby's hanging out there. I've thought Boston should get involved. They have not. Will they join the party at all? The Atlanta Braves, where Dansby came from. I don't know. Do they believe in Vaughn Grisham? We've done that debate. I don't know. You just believe in whatever the Braves do. And then you hate to throw, because there's a guy in baseball who's ruined this term, the mystery team. Is it the Twins, who supposedly they offered $280 for Correa? So if you're willing to offer $280 for Correa, we just did some of the Bogarts turkey math. Do you offer
200 to Dansby?
220, 225 for Dansby? I don't know. I don't know. And do they like Dansby? Or where does everyone register with him? I'm wondering if this is going to drag on. We know Dansby just got married. Congratulations. I'm very curious to see if we get the Dansby snowball momentum in the next week, because these teams are fighting over him, because it's a couple big boy teams that still need a fix. Or is everyone going to start looking into every other option? Because we always see that, right? Like, there's usually one or two free agents that linger. And Dansby's had some question marks. If I had to bet, I don't think he's going to linger. I think one of those teams is going to make their move. He was the best shortstop in the National League last year. That's an honest opinion. Now, if I was picking shortstops for the next couple years, yeah, I'd probably take some Lindors or Trey Turners or whoever it is. But last year, I think he was the best shortstop. Who is going to make the move on him? Will our Yanks get Rodon? Stay tuned to this. Thank you guys for listening to Wake and Jake talking baseball. We've got another one of those coming up in a little bit. And on here, we'll be circling back on all the transactions, just like talking baseball too.